And action! Okay, welcome to our first ever episode of Slightly Offside. I'm your co-host, Amy Humphreys.
And I'm your co-host, Victoria Rush.
This is the first ever episode of Slightly Offside, so we should probably tell you why we're here and like how we've come about doing this podcast.
It would be fair.
Yeah, it would be fair. So we met probably 3 years ago, maybe longer.
Don't know. It feels like forever.
Forever.
I don't know if that's a compliment.
Yeah, not sure that's a good thing. But, you know, we're here. So we met a long time ago when Vic was doing her film premiere for No Woman, No Try.
That was the first time we met.
That was. We got on pretty much straight away, I'd say, clicked. There's a photo.
Save that story for another day.
There's a photo of us together, like, drinking champagne, and it just, you can just tell, OK, these two are going to hang out.
You're welcome. It was the most expensive party I've ever thrown. I had
one
drink and one canapé, and my two best mates that came left sideways and had mind-swept the entire room at the end of the day. And I was like, to be fair, they wouldn't be my friends had they not done that. But how have I managed to spend this much money on one glass of wine?
Yeah. Well, at your expense, I had a great time. So
You're welcome.
Thanks for that. So, Slightly Offside, Vic, do you want to tell people what it's all about?
What it's all about? Yeah, absolutely. So Slightly Offside, and it probably kind of comes in the name a little bit. We wanted to do more in rugby around the game rather than having conversations about necessarily like who played well this weekend and that kind of thing, but actually bring people more of the things about rugby that we love, which is what goes on behind the scenes, on tour, at the World Cup. We'll definitely come back to that. And actually what it is that we love so much about it and what makes rugby, I guess. So, yeah, on the way to France in, I'm going to say October, we were kind of having a chat about what else we could do together because we're having so much fun in Paris and thought actually a pod would be a really good idea. So, yeah, here we are. I mean, I think we were catching the Eurostar when we had this conversation and I was like, I really want to start pod next year. And then you were like, literally have just had the same thing, like confirmed, I want to start a pod this year. And we were like, well, it only makes sense to do it together. And then we obviously, like you said, thinking about the actual thing, like people listen to, maybe you're not a rugby fan, you're new to rugby, this could be brand new to you, and we're hoping that you can still find enjoyment in people's stories, people's personalities, and the behind the scenes without having to be a rugby nose, basically. So that's why we're here. Let's jump back in time a little bit. World Cup. Should we just recap the World Cup? Because to me, that was probably the best month of my life. Yeah, absolutely. 2 months of 8 weeks of utter chaos. We dropped in and out of Paris a few times. So fortunate. I think more than anything, I spent the entire time being like, I cannot believe I get to go to a World Cup for work with my best friend. Like that was, unreal. It was sort of every now and again was a pinch me moment and it kept... I didn't think anything could be better than what had just happened and kept getting better and better and better. And then by the final weekend, when I went back with some other friends, I just kind of lost my mind a little bit on how much fun we're having and just the atmosphere that rugby brings. And there was a lot of work done, a lot of content made. And on my part, more so than anything, a lot of alcohol consumed.
I was too stressed to drink, I think.
You were so stressed, I was just running around.
I was actually
time of my life.
It was actually not an enjoyment to be around. No, I was quite stressed.
You were really stressed.
Do you know what? Looking back, I was. And I kind of wish I maybe enjoyed the moment a little bit more. But I still feel like I definitely really, like, embraced it. Yeah. Like, for now... my core memories are from the World Cup. Like, my best rugby memories are the World Cup, and I'm yet to top it. Yeah. Like, I'm yet to find something to top that because it was unreal. I think, for me, Ireland-South Africa game was the highlight. Like, till now, there's nothing that will top that.
Yeah, that was the first weekend, and with the two guys that we took with us.
Yeah, so we brought two guys with us who never seen rugby before, never played, or basically have worked in fashion.
So this was a real shock to them. Two women that were absolutely into sport, and two guys that were into, like, fashion.
Yeah, and we're like... they don't know what to expect. So, first of all, it's like a rugby match. Second of all, World Cup, so it just gets better. Ireland, South Africa are probably one of the best fixtures you can go to, most competitive games out there. So
this is the group stage game as well. It's the first one of the two.
It was an important game, wasn't it?
And it was a little bit almost like unbelievable. We had tickets that a friend of mine sent me. So not only were we out there, the night before the game, which was stressful. Well, not only were we out there, we had probably the best tickets I've ever had to rugby in my life anyway that had been sent to us the night before. And then it was South Africa, Ireland at the World Cup in Paris at the Stade de France. It was like, how do you top
just
this
getting
when
better
it's your
and
first
better.
game?
You know, like when we got there and we had like flipping like tiramisu and sausage and mash. I literally was having like little sausage and mash canapes, then jumping to like tiramisu, and then like honestly, I just mixed the food like nothing else.
The child in me is stood there holding a glass of red wine and a tiramisu as my starter because I'm not grown up and I can't eat food in the right order.
Do you know what the funny thing is for me? Like growing up, I've always been told like if someone's offering you food or drink, like don't just be polite, like just say yeah, thanks, that's really nice. So obviously when it's like free food, I was literally making the most of it. Like, I must make the most of this. But yeah, unreal. Canapes were great. After we had all the canapes, and we got probably questioned half the time whilst we were in that room, are you Irish? Why are you wearing an Ireland top? Da, 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 da. We explained, obviously, we're working with for Ireland
we
pretty
look
much.
so English as well. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It was so clear to any Irish man that came up to us that we were very obviously English and not Irish. Yeah. And we had to prove. I gave up because I don't even vaguely sound Irish.
No.
You tried to justify it by saying you have an Irish passport, which definitely doesn't actually help.
I feel like they hate me more for having an Irish passport. They're like, Brexit. Yeah, you're one of those Brexit gals. That's me. But yeah, so we go out to the game. Obviously, this is a cool memory right here, Zombie. Hearing Zombie in that stadium just like goes through like your soul, like genuinely gives you goosebumps. Like just hearing the whole stadium singing Zombie, like you've probably seen it on social media afterwards, but when you're there, like hands down, if you speak to anyone, they'll be like, that was unreal. Like it could have been like an Ireland home game.
Yeah.
It was just like a sea of green. I didn't know where any like South African fans or French people were. Honestly, I feel like the whole of Ireland made their way down to that game. That was insane. And then Ireland win, obviously. So that's great. Ireland win the match. Then we head down to the bottom and then...
Hang on, back up.
Oh, yeah.
We don't head anywhere. You were hurdling people, hurdling flights of seats, pushing people out of the way, throwing yourself to the front of the seats.
Crowd surfing.
I'm just stood there. Better description. Crowd surfing. I'm stood there trying to take the atmosphere in. I still can't quite believe that I'm at a World Cup.
All right, I'm going to stop you there because actually, when you look at the video, you're climbing through someone as well.
I had to follow you. I had to catch up. You had just thrown yourself.
My demand was like, do not miss this moment. Make sure you film this moment. Obviously, the Ireland team come round. We're trying to shout for them to come over. They sort of wave, it's lovely, but then Sia Khaleesi comes round and I'm like, right, this is my chance, I'm going to shout, Sia! He sees us and comes over and like jumps the barrier, takes a selfie with us, and like then we got swamped by South African fans.
You can see it in the photo where like my head's tiny in the background. There's all these people that we have absolutely no idea who they are, who are essentially on top of us trying to get in the photo. And I always kind of thought, I get that you want a photo with him, but forcing yourself into somebody else's photo, you're never going to get this picture unless you happen to find it online one day, which is...
Maybe they did,
but the reality is it's just us and a bunch of strangers.
Literally.
Who you can see, like everyone's
smiling, like
we're all best mates. So I was like, I've never met 90% of the people around me right now.
Literally. Everyone's smiling, like, well, if I'm going to be in a photo...
You just feel the weight of the crowd coming over you and into you as you're like trapped at the front.
And then people will just lob in their phones like over the crowd, just like
him, weren't they?
I don't need this. I just want a photo.
I don't understand. That is one of those things. I get who he is, and I get who he is to South African fans, but I don't get launching your phone over.
You may never see again.
Yeah, exactly. Just onto the pitch. What happens when? First of all, how do you prove it's yours?
Yeah.
So, well, how are you ever going to get it back?
This is the
thing.
thing.
The stewards are like, it's mine now. I'm going to sell this on eBay.
If this is your sign to not have your dog as your background on your phone and put yourself as your background, that's your sign. But so obviously we're with these two fashion like content creators. Ireland win, Zombies on, hospitality tickets. They just met Sia Khaleesi and they come home. We're like, you will never top that. Like, you've completed rugby. You've literally completed it. Like, any other game now is going to seem pretty mundane, like, in comparison to that. But unreal. So that was great. Can we just talk about, like, your mum and the way she responded to you? And then maybe people will understand who you are a little bit better from this because, let's face it, you guys might be listening, you might not know much about myself and Vic. You will by the time you listen to this season of episodes, but this explains a little bit why Vic's the way she is.
Thanks for that. Most of this feels like it's going to end up even roasting me as a predominant theme
good.
through this. Thanks. Okay, so coming home from the first weekend in Paris, you put a lot of stories up of me, like, stuck outside garden or my suitcase open, trying to pack. Because I'd got home, trying to find my passport, my sunglasses, everything I'd lost. I'd got home at something like 6:30 in the morning from going out clubbing after the game, basically. I looked at my watch and it thought I did a workout between 1 and 5 a.m. because I was on the dance floor of a club with the boys. And we turned the space we were in into some kind of weird dance-off with everybody in the room. And then Robin had got on the stage with the DJ. Anyway, it was chaos. Got back at 6:30. Amy wakes me up at 8, which isn't enough time to sober up from the tequila I'd been drinking. You woke me up like, what, 3 times?
No, I didn't wake you up, but I woke you up 3 times. And then I was like, okay, now the Uber's outside and you're still in bed. Like,
I was still in bed. Good. I was asleep. I wasn't dressed. I hadn't packed. So obviously by the time we got to the train station, I still hadn't really packed again. I also didn't know if I had anything with me. Got on the train and sent my mum a photo. And what I realised at the time was I hadn't really spoken to her very much through the entirety of the weekend. I'd sent her 3 pictures from something like Thursday lunchtime to Sunday morning. The first 2 were us outside of the Eiffel Tower, which is the cover of this podcast.
Yes, yeah.
There's 2 of those. And then the last one was me on the train with my hand on my head with no makeup on. I messaged her saying, I took it too far. We had a bit too much fun. And she said, if no one's dead or in jail, did you have too much fun? Which is exactly the summary of, well, my life. If that's my mum's bar for, like,
that literally explains,
have you taken it too far? If that's the bar and I'm not dead and I'm not in prison, then so there you go.
I feel like you are your mum at your age, pretty much, because she's almost like, why are you still not out?
She me and she's like, what have you done recently? I want to live vicariously through you. And like, stop egging me on to make it worse.
See, that's your mum. My mum still tracks me on Find My iPhone. She's the polar opposite, like, genuinely still tracks me down. She knows, like, when I'm turning up to her house or when I'm leaving Twickenham or anything, and she'll just text me like, hope you're having a nice time at Twickenham today. I'm like, how does she even know I'm here? And I'm like, oh, she tracks me still.
I probably should do that with my mum, to be fair. I think she'd feel safer about whether or not I am actually alive.
Yeah, I think my mum didn't do it. We set it up years ago when I was probably not being
not quite
sensible. Like, I was here, there and everywhere. I would say I'm going somewhere and then go somewhere else because I thought she's definitely going to say no. So if I ask her, she'll say no. If I just do it anyway, she can't be like, I said no because I haven't asked you.
You really feel sorry for mums.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry for all rugby mums out there. So World Cup, we've had a little break, but now we're back. Men's Six Nations is underway. Obviously, Ireland probably set to win. Do we agree?
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to do it. This is my prediction.
Oh, God.
You're
scaring me.
So I did this on the radio with Ash Wilmot recently, and I was like, it's written. I think it's going to go 6th place Wales.
Agreed.
I think it's their year for the wooden spoon. I think Italy are finally not going to be 6th, and everyone's going to celebrate like they've won the World Cup.
Yeah.
I think Italy will come 5th. I think France are going to come 4th.
Agreed.
I think Scotland are going to come
2nd, I think.
Yeah. Okay, I take it back. I think England are going to come 3rd, but I don't want them to. But I think they will. I think Scotland are going to come 2nd, and I think Ireland will unfortunately take
another Grand Slam.
Yeah. I honestly thought Scotland were going to beat France. We won't go into that because there's been enough debate on that topic. I won't go into it, but I do think Scotland will beat England at Murrayfield. I just don't see how England can turn them.
It's a home game for Scotland as well. They're playing great.
Everyone shows up for the English, and that's
I think
that's my prediction.
Your prediction is the same as Sam Warburton's. I spoke to Sam. He did exactly that same.
Well, he knows what he's talking about, and I can't confirm that I do. So
he's a Welshman, put in Welsh.
And he put...
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't see Just don't see how they're going to do it.
Unfortunately, they're in a rebuilding stage, I say, right now. So they've had a rough year, and I think they're in a rebuilding stage. But I root for Italy every year. Like, I literally root for Italy.
That's always one of my things. I think everybody has Six Nations second team.
Yeah.
And mine used to be Scotland.
Yeah.
It can't anymore because they're doing too well. So it's now Italy.
Yeah.
And I just think I think everyone should have one.
My World Cup second team was Fiji.
It wasn't even England.
No.
So your first one was Ireland, your second one was Fiji,
Do you know
your
what?
third
I
one...
like the teams that, like,
do well.
would mean...
You like the teams that perform well?
No. I like the teams that it would not just be great for them to win, it would be great for their country if they won. Like South Africa, I love it when they win because it means more than just rugby. It's like a country, worldwide thing for them. And then with Fiji, it'd be like the same effect. And I root for they're not even underdogs, Fiji, because they're playing well. But you know, when you're just like, you've done like a real quick turnaround here. Yeah. So
I was at the England-Wales game at Twickenham. I had this hilarious, although in many ways not that funny, interview trying to Vox Pop fans for work. And I was probably started a little bit too late, so everyone was a few beers deep by the time I'd got to them. And a couple of blokes, I went to ask them about the Scotland try and the TMO thing, just to see what fan reactions were. The conversation descended from the actual question almost immediately. When I started to explain to the guy what I thought of the laws around like, the TMO's decision and how the question was asked, and the bloke just stopped and went, "How old are you?" And I was like, what's my age got to do with the relevance of whether or not I understand the game very well? Then he kind of looked at me confused as the fact that I'm in my 30s. Thank you very much, Mum, for the genes.
Thank you.
And then he went, "Are you single?" And I was like, this can't go well. This is never going to go well. Yes, I am single. He proceeds to turn around, scream into the crowd around us, pointing at Alice and I, who was my videographer for the day, and went, "Lads," like whistled. I started screaming, "Lads, 2 single women!" And I was like, do you know,
like they cattle us like that?
Yeah. I didn't need this. I'm at work. And also, I don't need you, as it turns out to be a 58-year-old man, to try and corral some men out of a Twickenham crowd today. If I wanted that, I'd come with a sign going looking for a husband. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
like,
that's also...
Maybe we'll try that later.
Should try that. But that reminds me, like, have you ever been... like this situation is an example of that, where they then say, "You should meet my son," and they get out Facebook or something, and then they're like, "You should meet my son." And I had it on holiday once, and they're like, "You should add him on Facebook." I was like, "No, I don't need you to do this for me."
How did you meet me? Your dad told me to add you on Facebook.
I mean, it could be beginning of a love story, but who knows.
Hey guys, it's Vic here, just bringing you a quick message from the best sponsor for our podcast, Budgie Smuggler. They have a special discount code just for our listeners. Visit budgiesmuggleruk.com and enter the code Offside15 to get 15% off their Six Nations flag range, as well as their official England Rugby and Wales Rugby Budgie Smugglers. I can neither confirm nor deny that if you head to our Instagram or TikTok channels, you'll see Ben Earl in the latest England Rugby custom range. It's definitely worth checking out. One of the big purposes of the podcast was to bring stories from the game. You've had some from us, and I apologise for all of them. And we've been asking our friends and our followers to send theirs in so that we can share them with you guys. They are anonymous. There are no names. There are no locations. There are no clubs. We want to tell the stories, but we also don't want to get anyone in trouble unless they're very happy to give us information. So if you want to send your stories into the pod, please do either DM them to us, or we have our email address on the Instagram page, so just send it to that, and we promise we will not share your names or details or anything like that unless you explicitly say that we can. So I have a story for us.
Oh God.
And this is our new section with Budgie Smugglers. So this is the butt clenching moment of the week, brought to you by Budgie Smugglers. And this is something a friend of mine sent me last night.
You're narrowing it down so people at home can start guessing who these stories are about. They're like, right, rugby here,
and for
my
context,
friend.
She has played a very high standard of rugby.
Okay.
So here we go. Once we were on an overnight stay before a game, we had a forwards walkthrough in the basement of the hotel. We were all staying on the second, third floor of the hotel, so decided to get the lift back to our rooms. It's around 9 p.m. Anyway, The lift said that it could take 13 people. Turns out that doesn't equate to 11 forwards. You can kind of see where this is about to go. And the lift got about 3 meters up, dropped, and stopped working.
So
We got stuck in there for about 45 minutes, sweating our tits off, and I mean sweating. She's put that in caps. It can't have been good. Everyone was stood in their sports bras, and some people even took their trackies off because it was like a sauna.
do not blame them at
No,
all.
not at all.
Wait, is it 11 forwards?
11 forwards
stuck in
crammed
the
in.
lift
And
for
it's a pretty
45
small
minutes.
room. Can you imagine if you were like claustrophobic in that? It's not awful.
God.
This is, before I finish the story, this is like my biggest fear, is getting trapped in a lift on my own.
Well, at least they had company.
At least you got your mates. They had to call the fire brigade to get us out in the end, and all had to hop down from the lift one by one. Yes, there's video footage.
Oh my gosh, I need to see this video footage.
And the hotel woman was really stroppy with us, saying that we'd overfilled the lift. The fireman asked how many people could the lift fit. She said 13. He asked how many of us there were. We said 11. He rolled his head at the hotel woman and helped us on our way. I will say, though, that it did also have a capacity of 1,000 kilograms. And let's just say, when we were passing the time in the sweat box, we passed around a calculator, and we were about 100 kilos over. Hashtag bulking, not sulking.
Wait, I love that they're stuck in this lift, passing a calculator around.
They probably looked up and gone, we need to check before they tell us off. So it gets
Oh my
even
gosh.
better. We were quite dehydrated at the end, but it was good for team bonding.
Team bonding.
I don't think the hotel staff appreciated our rendition of You Raise Me Up.
You raise me up.
It was a memorable last trip to X location for me.
I
nearly gave that away.
Nearly gave it away. Oh my God, that is so good.
Yes.
I have to see this video footage. When they say they're like climbing out of the lift, is it that the doors didn't open fully, so they had to
probably had to climb,
sliver through like a gap? Stop.
So can you imagine also if that gap's not big enough?
But now, like every time you go in a lift, are you going to be like calculating
never
your
get in
body
a lift
weight
again.
before you do that?
I'd never get in a lift again.
Stairs
Absolutely
are
not.
good for you, so
This is why you take the
always
stairs.
go the stairs. That is too funny.
That's such a good
I
story.
absolutely love that. I wish we could just say who it is, but we can't.
I can't. I'll leave that in the comment section
Yeah,
if
let us know
the
if you
person would like
figured
to
it
reveal
out.
themselves.
So good. So now I've just got some funny questions that you can get to know me and Vic a little bit better. So not so much rugby, just a little bit more for you to, get to know us. So first of all, Vic, if I told you, guess who just texted me, who would your first guess be?
I don't want to do this the other way around.
It's going to happen the other way around.
Veto, I'm not playing.
I
I
thought
don't know
I
this
was
game
really
already.
boring
Episode
in
1, no. Who just texted you? Okay, I'm going to say that it's either me texting you
Fair.
from over here,
Fair.
or it's Rob texting you a photo of Nelly.
Yeah. See, why am I so boring?
Because you're
realised.
happily in a relationship.
Yeah, I'm content. So there you go. Once you're in a relationship, you become boring. That's
I
it.
wouldn't call it boring.
Okay.
I wouldn't call it boring.
So other way round.
Just a little less chaotic.
If you told me, guess who texted me, who do I think would text you first? You look so scared.
Scared of what you're about to say. The person you're going to say, I've actually blocked recently. So
Yeah, true.
it's not that one.
Okay, so I'm going to say... Ooh, I could...
So uncomfortable.
I know.
I get out my seat.
It would be a male of some kind.
That's so unfair.
Um...
I work with a lot of men, so...
Okay, there's two here. It could either be Charlie with some free tickets to another rugby match.
If it was Charlie with 3 tickets to another rugby match, fine. Sadly, it's not. He's just had a baby. Congrats, Charlie. by the way.
Congrats, Charlie, and also thanks for our tickets. Or any referee in rugby. Because Vic has a thing for referees.
Well, if they'd text me back, I'd have a thing for referees.
If they text me back. Oh, I want to give you a hug right now, but I can't. No. Okay, there we go.
I don't know if it's the whistle or if it's the cards, but seriously, I can't.
Is it like the fact that they are like, no, do this, do that? It's quite, like, they're quite.
I think it's the authority.
Dominating.
That Sam did that video recently where she cut all the ref content out of whistleblowers.
Oh yes, Sam. Love that.
Yeah, that was it. Absolutely killed me.
Sam Love Rugby. That's
Hero.
a good video if you want to watch it.
Doing God's work for people like me.
Yeah, for anyone that likes referees. Okay, what's one memory that always makes you smile no matter what?
The World Cup. That's a really boring answer because we've covered it so much. But
it's
absolutely core memories, life goals, ticked off, you name it. Like it doesn't. I think one of them is the World Cup final weekend where I went with Alice and some of her colleagues. Really weird. It was me and her, and then two of her colleagues who brought a friend each. So it's like a random group of people that didn't really know each other. But I think because we knew we were going for something so significant, we just knew good vibes only. Like there was never any disagreements. If we didn't agree on what to do, we went with what the majority wanted. So we never separated the group. We spent all 3 nights in the same Irish bar. Go to Paris, at least see some culture. Instead, we went back on the second night to the same pub, and the guy behind the bar looked at me, pointed at me, and just said "Rosé," and I was like,
back at
"What? What happened?
Rosé.
Why do I not know why he said this to me?" And I, to this day, actually haven't checked my bank account.
Your bank account's still suffering from the World Cup.
Wow. What happened?
I don't know how you do
after
it, honestly.
that becomes a little
Blurred.
hazy. But if anything,
So
we
good.
went to the third, fourth playoff on the Friday night. That actually slowed down the drinking for us.
Wow.
Because they only sold beer in the stadium, and I don't drink beer, so
No
it gave me like a
rosé.
2-hour break. But we
Makes
did
sense.
drink on the train, the metro to the game. We were all trying to, but I think it's a very English thing to do, like journey juice, which is what my mum calls
Journey
it. See, my
juice.
mum
Your
again.
mum?
Yeah. So we all kind of grabbed some beers and put them in our jackets, and then getting on the metro to go up to the stadium. It was really busy, rush hour. No one else is drinking, which says everything I think about the English more than anything. So we were all there with a can each, and we're trying to get onto this really busy train. And for whatever reason, I knew it was going to happen, and the doors started to close and just shut between me and Charlotte in front of me. And she turns, and there's just his head, and I was like, oh no. The train pulls out the station, and I was like, what? Right, I'm the only one left on the platform, and now I've got a beer in my hand, I'm alone, I'm in Paris, I do not speak French, and I'm pissed. This is not going to go well. So I got on the next train. Fortunately, it was empty, so it was great. I had all this space to myself. Pulled in. Bless everybody, they'd got off at the next station, and as it pulled in, we're all like, yeah, reunited. Lost kids on a school trip. It was so funny. But yeah, things like just little stories like that. Like it's like everything just makes me smile about that whole trip. Yeah.
World Cup just
Whatever
doesn't
your
get
question
better,
was.
does it? It doesn't get
Just
better.
digress.
To be fair, like, yeah, World Cup for me always makes you smile, but also meeting you, obviously, wasn't going to say that. No. Yeah, meeting you. But for me, like, obviously, if this explains a little bit about who I am anyway, but it's my first ever Women's Six Nations TikTok launch, which was the first ever thing I did in rugby. So before World Cups become like normal and Prem Rugby and like all those finals and things become normal, like for me, I was still working in healthcare. I was a carer. I was training other carers in like medication administration, infection control. And that day I had to train people on Zoom. Whilst they were doing their workbooks, I went and filmed with the players, women's captains for the TikTok launch. And I was still working in healthcare. And I remember looking around and just being like, this has to be my job. Like, I can't go back to training people and just to like work in healthcare. I would do like split shifts where I'd like sleep in my car and stuff between shifts as like a carer. I'd stay overnight with like alarms and stuff going off. And literally, I remember thinking at that Women's Six Nations launch, like, I can't go back to that. Like, I have to find a way to make this a job. And back then, being a rugby TikTok creator was not a job. It wasn't a thing really in the women's game at all. I think there were maybe 5 of us that were sort of doing videos and things, but we were all in normal jobs at the time. And now all those creators, this is what they're doing full time. And it's like, that is crazy. That's probably been my like best memory, because it's like set the tone for like the fact that now this is my job. And I just think it's wild.
I think there's something in it too, like the last couple of months, people that I've known for years or haven't spoken to for a long time keep messaging me and going like, you look like you're living your best life. And don't get me wrong, 100% am. Last year especially, I counted it back in December. I watched 9 different tournaments of rugby in 5 different countries in the space of a year, which is insane. I don't know how many games. It's insane. But I didn't wake up and that just happened. Like, this is a long process over a really long period of time, working, doing things, side hustles, and doing it when everyone tells you it's not possible, and
convincing a lot of people that it's needed as well. That's half the battle. It's
No Woman, No Try was a big piece of that. I had 2 different companies. I think this has a lot to do with how it happened. I had 2 different companies that I tried to pitch it to. Both turned around to me and say, there's just no way this will get made. No one will pay you for it, etc., etc. And my toxic trait is when men tell me I can't do something, I very much feel like I have to prove I can.
I will do it.
So I was just set out, and in my mind, I also, for whatever reason, knew I was right. Like, I knew it was a good idea. I just was absolutely sure it was needed. So when they said no, I said, fine, I will just do this myself. And that process started in December 2020. I think we're now forward into February 2024. This is 3.5 years later. It's not like I didn't do that overnight.
No.
I started making all my decisions based on, I want to do this all of the time.
Exactly.
And now I do.
We would do this if it wasn't our job. That's the difference, is we would still be doing this if
did
we
it when
weren't
it wasn't
paid
my
for
job.
it. Yeah. Like, I made videos, not ever with the possibility being like, this can be your job. I did it because I had fun and I enjoyed engaging with like a rugby community and just having a laugh about the sort of characters you get in rugby and the different scenarios you find yourself in, and relating to people on that like sort of wavelength. But obviously I never thought that an opportunity would come out of it. I think TikTok sponsoring the Women's Six Nations was the breaking ground thing for me, because I was already established then on TikTok. They were like, right, we've got a great sponsor, but we don't know how to make TikTok videos and how to get players like engaged on it. So now you see all the players are sort of sharing their behind the scenes, the day in their life. They're showing a bit more about their personality and their fashion, like Ellie Kildan with her film photography, her fashion. So I think social media has its cons, but the pros we've seen massively. It's grown the game. We're getting like bigger audiences. We're getting behind the scenes for players. We're getting future career opportunities for women in sport. So like when we look back at No Women, No Try, 2020 to now, like the game has just done like a whole 360 flip. Like, it's incredible. And we get to be part of it. So it's even better.
So that means you get to hear even more rugby stuff on podcasts like this, or just this one. Don't worry about anyone else's.
Podcasts like this.
yeah. Just podcasts like this.
Like
we'll
slightly offside. So stay tuned. Support your girls. Support your girls.
Follow us wherever you listen to your podcast. Subscribe. Leave us reviews, preferably positive ones, and help us reach more people in rugby. And tune in, because we have some unreal guests coming at you in the next few episodes.
Coming very soon. Thanks for listening, guys.
See ya!